You've seen him. Maybe you are him. The man who walks through a room full of beautiful women and doesn't turn his head. Not because he's trying to be alpha, not because he's playing a game of negging or strategic distance, but because inside his chest the signal has gone flat. While every other man is performing, peacocking, or desperately trying to catch an eye, he is a ghost. He is the man who doesn't care. Society looks at this man and calls him a sigma, a loner, or emotionally unavailable. They think he's won the game because he's stopped playing. They think he's reached a state of enlightenment where the feminine no longer has power over him. But there is a paradox here, a dark, quiet contradiction that no one talks about. Why does the man who claims to need nothing often feel like he is carrying the weight of the entire world? If you truly didn't care, you wouldn't be watching this. If you were truly over it, there wouldn't be this nagging, hollow resonance in your chest when the lights go out and the phone is plugged in for the night. Tonight, we aren't talking about dating advice. We aren't talking about how to get girls. We are going to perform an autopsy on a very specific type of silence. We are going to explore the secret reason why your freedom feels like a prison and why your indifference is actually the loudest scream you've ever let out. Before we begin, I have 2 questions for you. Don't answer them for me. Answer them for the version of you that still feels things when no one is looking. Question 1. Is your indifference a choice, or is it a survival rhythm? Question 2. What is the one memory you've spent the last 5 years trying to prove didn't break you? By the end of this, you're going to realize that not caring isn't your personality, it's your armor. And that armor has become so heavy, you've forgotten how to breathe without it. To understand the man who doesn't care, we have to look at the architecture of his mind. This isn't a lack of desire, it's a systemic shutdown. In psychology, there are 3 primary pillars that hold up the apathetic man. 1. Preemptive abandonment, the "I'll quit first" logic. Most people think apathy is the opposite of love. It's not. The opposite of love is indifference, yes, but the man who doesn't care isn't actually indifferent. He is hyper-vigilant. At some point in your development, your brain made a calculation. You realized that the return on investment for emotional vulnerability was a net loss. You learned that if you let someone in, they eventually leave. Or worse, they stay and slowly dismantle your sense of self. So, your nervous system developed a preemptive strike mechanism. You stop caring before they can make you care. You reject the world before the world can reject you. It's a genius survival strategy. It's also a slow form of suicide for the soul. 2. Hyper-independence. The trauma of self-reliance. There is a term in clinical psychology called compulsory autonomy. This happens when a child realizes that the people who are supposed to provide emotional safety are either inconsistent, overwhelmed, or dangerous. The child makes a silent vow: I will never need anyone again. As an adult, this manifests as not caring about girls. You don't see a partner as a companion, you see them as a potential threat to your system. A woman represents a variable you cannot control, and to a man who survived by controlling his environment, an uncontrollable variable is a nightmare disguised as a dream. 3. The deactivation of the reward center. When you spend years suppressing the lows of life, the heartbreak, the rejection, the loneliness, you accidentally suppress the highs too. Neurochemically, you have dampened your dopamine response to social connection. You've replaced the oxytocin of intimacy with the cortisol of self-protection. You aren't cool or stoic. You are physiologically numb. You think you've mastered your emotions. The truth? Your emotions have checked out because they realized you weren't a safe place for them to exist. You aren't the king of your castle. You are the only prisoner in a fortress with no doors. But for the man who doesn't care, there is a middle ground that is far more terrifying. You became the lie you told to stay safe. Think about the cost of your indifference. When you sit across from someone who is actually trying to see you, someone who is offering warmth, and you feel nothing. You feel like you're watching a movie in a language you used to speak, but have now forgotten. That is the hidden cost. You've traded depth for safety. You've traded intimacy for predictability. You've traded life for survival. Every time you don't care, a small part of your internal map turns grey. You start to lose the ability to feel colour in other areas of your life too. Your career feels like a checklist. Your hobbies feel like distractions. Your friendships feel like transactions. You don't care, so you don't lose. You don't care, so you don't hurt. You don't care, so you don't feel. You don't care, so you don't live. The identity conflict here is brutal. On the outside, you are the strong, silent type. You are the guy who has it all together. But inside, there is a boy who is absolutely exhausted from holding the door shut. You aren't avoiding women. You are avoiding the version of yourself that exists when you are in love, because that version is soft, that version is vulnerable, that version is at risk, and you've spent your whole life making sure you are never at risk again. Let's talk about how this looks in the real world. Let's look in the mirror for a second. It might get uncomfortable. 1. The exit strategy obsession. Even when you're on a date or in a casual thing, you are already planning the breakup. You're looking for the red flag, not because you want to avoid a bad person, but because you are looking for an excuse to leave before it gets real. 2. The ghosting of the good ones. You find it easy to deal with toxic women or people who don't matter. But the moment you meet someone who actually understands you, someone who looks past your mask, you vanish. You go cold. You stop responding because being seen feels like being hunted. 3. The intellectualization of everything. You don't have feelings, you have perspectives. You don't get hurt, you analyze the situation. You use your intelligence as a shield to avoid the raw, messy experience of actually being human. 4. The physical intimacy paradox. You might have plenty of sex, but you have zero connection. You've learned how to perform the mechanics of intimacy while keeping your soul in a different room. You leave as soon as the act is over, because the afterglow is where the danger of conversation lives. 5. The one that got away myth. You keep one person from your past on a pedestal, someone from 5-10 years ago. You tell yourself they were the one. This is a trick. By loving someone who isn't there, you give yourself a valid excuse to never love anyone who is there. 6. The grind as a narcotic. You've replaced human connection with the mission, career, gym, money, status. You tell yourself you're focusing on yourself, and while self-improvement is great, you're using it as a drug to numb the silence. You're building a kingdom so you don't have to admit you're lonely. Does any of this sound like you? Or does it just sound like common sense? Because for a man in your position, common sense is often just trauma in a suit. You've convinced yourself that being a lone wolf is your nature, when in reality, wolves only leave the pack when they are too wounded to keep up.
If you've recognized yourself in these words, I want you to take a breath. This isn't about fixing you. You aren't broken. You are optimized for a war that ended a long time ago. You built these walls to survive a childhood, a heartbreak, or a period of life where you were unprotected. You did a great job. You're still here. But the war is over. It's time to decommission the fortress. Here is how you start to care again. Not for girls, but for your own life. Step 1. Awareness of the finch. In your chest, there is a tiny physical sensation that happens right before you shut down. It's a tightening, a subtle finch. Start noticing it. When someone asks you a personal question, or when a woman shows you genuine interest, feel your body try to close. Don't fight it, just witness it. Say to yourself, my armor is trying to protect me right now, but I am safe. Step 2. Inner child integration. This sounds like therapy speak, but it's biological. That part of you that decided to not care is about 8 years old. He's scared. He needs to know that adult you is now capable of handling a broken heart. You are strong enough now to survive being hurt. You weren't then. You are now. Step 3. Controlled vulnerability. You don't have to open the floodgates, just open a window. Tell a friend something you're actually struggling with. Admit to a woman that you're feeling a bit overwhelmed instead of saying, I'm fine. Practice being seen in small, low-stakes ways. Step 4. Redefining strength. True strength isn't the ability to feel nothing. A rock feels nothing. A corpse feels nothing. True strength is the ability to feel everything and still stay standing. It takes zero courage to be indifferent. It takes massive, tectonic courage to look at another human being and say, I am interested in you, and I know that gives you the power to hurt me. That is the warrior's path. The other way is just hiding. The man who doesn't care is a myth. Deep down, you care more than anyone. You care so much that the possibility of it going wrong was enough to make you shut down your entire emotional grid. But here is the truth you need to carry with you. The world doesn't need more unmoved men. It doesn't need more cold kings. The world is starving for men who are brave enough to be affected by it. Your indifference isn't your power. Your capacity for connection is. You've spent years learning how to survive without love. Now it's time to learn how to live with it. The walls you built to keep out the pain are the same walls that are keeping out the light. It's okay to start taking them down, one brick at a time. You don't have to care about girls. You just have to care about the man in the mirror enough to let him out of his cage. Send this to someone who feels this but can't explain it. They need to know they aren't cold. They're just waiting for it to be safe to come home.